I do know none of those were intentional.
Oh, I haven't seen.
We are ready to start. I just got the thumbs up from Travis. And thank you for being here. We first want to excuse Mayor Mike Mendenhall. He is out of town tonight, and so it's just the five of us. And we're going to start, let's see, with a prayer by Councilman Took, correct? And then the pledge by Councilman Euler?
Yep.
Thank you.
Father in heaven, we're grateful to be gathered this evening as public servants. We're thankful for this wonderful city of Spanish Fork and that we're able to serve in it, and thankful for all the amazing residents that make it what it is. We're grateful for this time of year that we soon get to celebrate our freedoms. Father, please bless us to be inspired to make good decisions and to do our very best to help lead this city. Please protect us, watch over us, help keep us safe, and we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then tonight we have some recognitions. Who's over that one?
I can help you with that.
Okay, thanks, Tyler.
So we have our employee of the quarter here, and her supervisor is Kim Hall. And Kim has asked if she could be the one to present tonight. She has a really special narrative to share. She said she's reached out to Cassidy's mother as well, and has quite a bit of information to give tonight. So with that, Kim, would you mind coming up and presenting the employee of the quarter?
Yeah. I've got about 6 pages worth of stuff here. Are you guys okay with that? We go into all the potty training and all of that.
Just put up our 3 minutes, Jack.
Okay, I will read really, really fast. So it's with great pride that I can present and recognize Cassidy Thorpe for the employee of the quarter. Cassidy is one of those incredible employees. This recognition is well deserved. She goes up and beyond every single day in doing her job. From day one, Cassidy has been, as the genie would say, a diamond in the rough. She jumped in with both feet and has not come up yet. She's just willing to do whatever. And I kind of want to give you a few examples of what she's done in the last this last quarter in helping the city. Some of you guys may know the wise monkey Rafiki from Lion King. He made the statement, "The past can hurt, but you can either run from it or learn from it." Well, Cassidy was looking at some of our policies, and she learned from the past and realized that there was some things that were missing in our policy for our employees. And she took the initiative to do some research and come up with a postpartum paternal leave policy for our employees. And this is not only has set Spanish Fork ahead of others as far as with benefits, but we've had many employees since this has passed that have utilized this benefit, which has really helped them out, being there for their families, when their babies are born. Another thing that Cassidy did is, as I was going around and I was in some HR meetings, I realized that we were lacking, Spanish Fork City was lacking with the mental health side of things. We're really good at the wellness side, with Parks and Rec and what they do, but the mental health side we were lacking. And I asked Cassidy to kind of oversee this, and she took it on. She teamed up with Erica DeMeester from Parks and Rec and has created a mental health wellness program. And they have meetings that they started doing it quarterly, and they're thinking of doing it every other month. And these are just meetings and resources that really help our employees get through some maybe difficult times that they're having. Another thing that Cassidy is in charge of is our onboarding. And you have to imagine we're hiring about 800 plus employees a year, so it's not a small task. And she has taken this process to infinity and beyond. And she has made it her own. She has figured out a way to communicate to not only the supervisors, but the employees to make this a more efficient process and helps our supervisors know where their employees are and when they're able to start working. Another thing that Cassidy has done is she's involved in interviews. Anytime that a benefit employee is getting hired, we have somebody from HR in there. She's been involved in these. And she goes with some great insights, some valuable resources, and has helped us hire some really good employees. In fact, to be honest, I think that most of the supervisors prefer Cassidy. I mean, how can you blame them over me being in there? But I would probably rather have Cassidy in there as well. Cassidy has made the workplace a better place. One thing I like about Cassidy is at the end of a phone call, she'll always say, "Are there any other questions you have for me?" And that's how she is with everybody. She's always willing to make sure that they're taken care of. She takes the time to answer their questions and make sure that she fulfills everything that they need done. And then I'm kind of go to a personal side. We are so lucky to have Cassidy in our little office. Cassidy's the fun one. She created something called Fun Fridays, and somehow she has convinced all of us to get up early on Friday before work. We meet and we'll either do pickleball, we'll go hiking. Jack loves to hike, it's his favorite. He doesn't ever complain. But she got us all to sign up last year for the Provost Freedom 5K run, and we all trained for that and went and did it together. And that's just kind of Cassidy for you. I am so glad that Cassidy accepted this job and is working for Spanish Fork. She's an added asset to us. She adds value to her position. Congratulations, Cassidy. This is well earned. And as Walt Disney himself once said, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. Thanks for showing us that every day. That's Cassidy.
Congratulations. Cassidy, are you the one?
Oh, come back.
You just left me.
Cassidy, are you the one that plans your department's Disney trips?
That takes some collaboration.
With
Kim has a big input
With
on
Kim,
that as
you may
well.
have noticed with all of the Kim quotes, and if you go into Kim's office, she's a Disney fanatic.
Yes.
But you guys have a tight group. You guys are fun. So I want to be sure when we do take a photo that your whole department, even though maybe one of you have left, come on up, because you guys are a fun group to watch and interact with. So, and I think that's important for our HR department and all of you guys. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to say big thank you to Kim. I couldn't do any of this without her. I'm grateful for Seth and Tyler and the council as well. I just really appreciate Spanish Fork City and everything it has to offer, and look forward to many more opportunities with Spanish Fork. So, thank you.
Well deserved.
Well deserved.
Well done. Agreed.
Okay. Come on up here, Cassidy. Come stand right here, and let's have all you guys come up.
Jack's usually the one talking about Stacy. Jack?
Oh, husband, come on up.
Three, two, one. All right. Thanks.
We should do something. Yeah. Congratulations, Cassidy.
Yeah, thanks, Cassidy.
Okay, moving on. Next, we have public comments. And this will be for anyone that would like to address the council outside of the future public hearings. So is there anyone out there that we can invite up to address the council at this time? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move to council comments, but we want to begin with turning some time over to our city manager, Seth Perrins. We had one of our department heads pass away of cancer this past week, and Seth, if we can offer you a couple minutes to
Yeah, thank you.
talk about that.
Yeah, just for the public,
our Information Systems Director and SFCN Director, Brian Perry, passed away on a week ago Monday after a brief but courageous battle with cancer. He was diagnosed with glioblastoma on Wednesday, February 5th. I think most of us remember that day actually really well. We've been doing a rotating Wednesday morning department head meeting, and that happened to be the first Wednesday that he was going to be the host. And in very atypical fashion, Bryan wasn't there, and nobody knew why. And we were kind of scratching our heads and wondering where he was, and eventually I got a text from Bryan that said he wasn't feeling well, and his wife was making him go to the doctor. And I got a text from Tangi. I was sitting in DRC about an hour and a half later with the tragic news that they had found 2 tumors in his brain, and they were of the scary type. Bryan has worked with the city for just over 15 years, and was and is a great human. We see him in this setting. A lot of times you would see him hanging out in that glass space there with Travis or whoever is filming the council meeting at the moment. He didn't really like to be anywhere in the light. He just liked to be kind of behind the shadows, and really helping the magic happen. And that was Bryan's nature. He just made it happen. I'm sure remember with fondness the weekend before this tragic news was given to us on that Wednesday in February. We had just spent 3 days with him in Midway, and he shows up at those meetings with 6 or so black totes, right? And he's got cables and cords for anything and everything that you'd want. I think, as Kim would say, gadgets and gizmos aplenty. But he just would set it up, whatever it was. And he's been setting it up in Spanish Fork for over 20 years. I think it's worth saying that a lot of our SFCN network, as we know it, have Bryan's fingers and his DNA all over it. Long before he was an employee in Spanish Fork, he was a part of our broadband committee that helped to create what was SFCN. So in the late 90s and early 2000s. Before he was an employee of Spanish Fork, he worked with John to create what we called smart parks. And so right now, if you go to our parks and you can see the spot-on internet signal, that Wi-Fi signal that's available in all or most of our parks, Bryan did that not as an employee. He and John schemed, don't you think that Spanish Fork ought to have internet in the park? And so before cities did that, Bryan and John did that together. And as we talk about Bryan, I think it's certainly worth talking about his family. His wife Tangi, she's been amazing. What an amazing individual Tangi is. As she's fought with her husband, and I imagine many of you, and maybe even many of the public, have followed her posts as she's kind of detailed, I think in a wonderfully raw fashion, this is where we're at, this is what we're dealing with. But at the same time, she's been amazingly positive. And I'm just so impressed with her. As we can imagine, the children that Bryan and Tangi have 2 kids, Aiden and Addie, and they're in their 20s, great kids, and they're going to honor Bryan this weekend. The funeral will be on Saturday. If we could show the obituary. This is the obituary, and I invite anybody and everybody to read this. If you go to our city's Facebook page, a few days ago, we wrote a tribute to Bryan, and that may be a place you can go. The link to the obituary is there. If you go to Walker's page, you can find the link, or you can find Bryan's obituary there as well. It's a great read. From my perspective, anybody that wants to be involved in helping their community, not as a city employee, but just being involved in their community, Bryan was that guy. as I mentioned, his involvement, of course, with SFCN before he worked for us. But Bryan was a part of the sheriff's communications team. He helped with radios. He had nothing to do with radios. And I think Eddie and the fire department are going to miss Bryan tremendously. As he was able to do their radios for them in a way that they couldn't get from other government entities. And I think Bryan just was a great example of selfless service that just oozed from every pore of his body. Just that kind and selfless service. I think if you went around at least the room of staff and council, we probably each have a story to share. It's not uncommon for us to share a story of, I was having an issue with my internet. It was Friday night. I texted Bryan, and 5 minutes later, he was at my door. Like, why are you here? Well, you didn't have your internet working, and I thought it'd be important for you to have it through the weekend, so I'm here. And it sounds like maybe you had that happen.
I'd be the only person that could teach my father how to do internet. Now what?
Yeah. And that happened in the Seth and Jill parents' household, and whatever the problem was, Bryan said, that piece of crap router's not going to do it. Give me a minute. And he went and grabbed another one, probably from his basement at his own house, and said, use this, get another one on Monday or tomorrow, whatever, right? I think most anybody that knows Bryan probably has a story very, very similar to that, where I had an issue, whatever it was, and Bryan just showed up. We miss him tremendously. We're so grateful for what he's done for our community and for how he did it. And our hearts are broken with Tangi, and we look forward to being able to honor him on Saturday.
Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, Seth.
That's beautiful. I don't know that any of us could add it any more. I'll cry if I say much. So, should I leave it there or do it in it? Does anyone want to add anything? Any of our directors or? He will be missed. He's going to leave a hole in our hearts for sure. So, thank you for that, Seth. So moving on to council comments. Landon, let's start with you. It was a big week with Miss Utah. You probably have a lot to say about that, and then we'll just kind of come down to.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Sounds good. Yes, wonderful. Just a couple items from me. Let me start with I've got the Chamber of Commerce. Our president and CEO is not able to be with us this evening, but she did send along there's 4 announcements relating to the business community. And so let me just share these really quick in case you have interest or know somebody who would like to attend these. So we have a new networking event on June 19th, so here in 2 days. We'll be hearing from the American Red Cross Ready Rating Program and having catered food by Good Grinds Hawaiian Food, which is that new location in Salem. Haven't tried it yet. Here it's amazing. But it'll be hosted at the Hampton Inn. So again, that's a Hampton Inn on the 19th at noon. You are welcome. Also, we have Tabitha's Way 15-year celebration block party, which will be held on Thursday, June 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. in their parking lot, the new location just up the street here, a couple blocks away. We have the ribbon cutting as well for John Bird, a Utah insurance advisor, on July 9th at noon. His address, in case you're interested, is 765 North Main Street in the downstairs part. So, again, that's for ribbon cutting for John Baird, Utah Health Insurance. And then we've got the last one is ribbon cutting at Hive Realty Group on July 16th at noon. They're moving into the old Mint building right on Main Street here in Spanish Fork. So that's the update from the Chamber of Commerce. But, of course, it was Miss Utah Week, and I was fortunate enough to attend, and it was absolutely fantastic. I've got a couple pictures you can see here. So Hope King represented us this year. How it works in Spanish Fork is the girl who represents Spanish Fork that finishes her year of service, and then she goes to Miss Utah the following June. So she has some time to really prepare. I love how we do it here. And she did not disappoint. She was so impressive and did so well from her stage performance, her talent, to just the way she presented herself and her interview, private interview, etc. So you can see we've got her family makes these fun badges you can wear and just support and yell and scream, and she did very well. It's such a funny thing, Miss Utah. Only one girl is chosen to serve as Miss Utah, but there's 47 this year, and they any of them could win and represent the state. They're all of that caliber. and she's right there as a top contender. I was very proud of Hope, and again, just really grateful for the service she's provided to Spanish Fork City when she was Miss Spanish Fork. So,
Landon, I read on her Facebook post, or I think maybe even the Miss Utah's page, that Hope raised so much money that she was awarded like a service. Do you remember what award that was?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the award, but she did. She was one of the things that Miss Utah does is they have a contest to see who can raise the most money for whatever the cause
like
is.
Like a heart?
Yeah, this year I'm not connected as well into the program, but yeah, she was number one though. Out of all the girls, she raised the most amount of money for the cause, and that's a lot. And
that was really cool.
And yeah, but that's the type of individual that Hope is, and just in general, the type of young ladies we have representing Spanish Fork. You see it year after year because we just have great people here. So.
One other fun fact I think it would be fun to share is one of our former Miss Spanish Forks from 2008, I believe, Ashley Jex Stratton, actually emceed Miss Utah on Saturday night and was able to announce the winners. So that's just kind of a full circle. Very cool.
I loved it. I know. I wasn't there. I listened to it, but I wasn't there in person. But I could tell by her voice it was her, and she did an amazing job. She's it's fun to watch her career just kind of grow and represent so well with everything she does. So Ashley's amazing.
Thanks for going up and representing Spanish Fork.
Of course, yeah, my pleasure. So Miss Utah, it was wonderful. The last thing I've got here is just I think I've got a couple pictures. I was able to attend the 250th birthday of the Army Marine Corps and Navy event here in town. My daughter and I, she's on the City Council, so we both had reasons to be there and just enjoy that event. We haven't had the opportunity to go to this event before, so if you haven't as well, I'd recommend trying it out next year. It was just a lot of fun to just see the tradition and recognition of what they do and recognizing our country and just well done. It was a good event by Becky. So that's all that I've got tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Took. Councilman Cardin.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. The first is we just finished up Youth Arts Festival. It was successful. I heard that Seth got to go and participate. Well, go down and see it this last week. What do you think, Seth?
Absolutely amazing. It is one of the coolest things I think we do, honestly. It is so cool. Yeah. Just to see the kids in the various classes of all kinds loving it. Yeah, I loved it.
I guess they had Seth, Dell, the fire marshal, like everybody.
No, it was Chief Hells.
Oh, was it Chief? I was told it was the fire marshal, so Chief Hells works. But they had a lot of fun having everyone there. It was successful. Another 1,500 kids. So again, that'll be next year, same time. Registration will start in May. It'll be the first 2 weeks of June. So look for that. We also just finished the elections. I don't know if you call it that, but the selection of our youth city council leadership. Those announcements should be coming out here shortly. So that was a fun process to be a part of. And then the last thing that I have is just a reminder of the airport board breakfast this Saturday, and it is actually before the funeral, so that's good. 8 to 10 a.m. So just down at the airport, just after you get through the main entrance on the right-hand side, it's just right there. So we invite anybody who would like to attend that to be there, and that's all I got.
Thank you. Councilman Euler.
Thank you. I just want to report back on 2 meetings that took place last week. We had a public hearing for the Mountain Eagle Water Association to approve the fiscal year budget, and that was passed. Also in that meeting, we had a leadership change, and Spanish Fork employee Paul Taylor, who's also a city council member in Salem, was appointed to chair that organization. So we're excited for Paul. He's going to do a fantastic job with all the wealth of knowledge he has around water. So the other meeting was the South Utah Valley Municipal Water Agency. We held a public hearing for that one as well to approve that budget, which also passed. So those were the 2 budget hearings that we had, along with the one we'll have tonight. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councilman Euler. Councilman Marshall, do you have anything?
I don't.
Okay. Nope. I just have a couple of things. Landon, I think I got down to the 250th celebration with the veterans just right after you. So just to add to that, they had Waffle Love there, and they were doing a fundraiser for suicide awareness for veterans, which is a really important cause. I liked that Becky brought that up and was educating thing and had pamphlets for all the veterans that was coming there for breakfast. So that was good. The last couple of weeks, I've taken my grandkids just across the hall to the Heritage Room for story time and doing the summer reading program. And I've gone at different times every week, and all of those stadium seats are full of little kids, all 3 sessions of story time. The library, they're doing a fantastic job. Kudos to them. And then one last thing, we are proofing the Fiesta Days magazine. It should be in your mailboxes around July 4th. But if you are interested in signing up for any of the Parks and Recs activities, it's probably smart to hop online and get signed up, get your teams organized now. By the time the magazine comes out, oftentimes they're full. So if you're interested in any of the Parks and Recs things for Fiesta Days, now's a good time to do that. And I think that's all I have. So, okay, Seth, are there any staff reports tonight?
Yeah, I think we do actually have. Nope, we moved that to 101. Nope, we don't.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, do we have Spanish Fork 101?
We do have that.
Okay. Chief Hells, welcome.
101 tonight. Thanks for having me. We're going to be hosting the 2025 Utah State Firefighters Convention in Spanish Fork this year. This is an event that has not been hosted in Spanish Fork since 1952, or since the second motorized pumper that Spanish Fork owned. That was the year that we purchased the second one that replaced the one that was in the display case there on Main at our fire station. So it was the same year we bought the second fire apparatus that we hosted this convention here in Spanish Fork. And so it's an awesome opportunity that we get to bring over 300 firefighters and their spouses to the city of Spanish Fork to come and network and enjoy each other's company and make business happen for the organization that they serve. I do have a clicker. Right there. There it is. This year, we used the motto of the city for the theme of the convention, Pride and Progress. As Spanish Fork Fire and EMS, we're very proud of the organization that we have, and we're also very proud of our progress that we're making, and we thought it would be a great theme to have as the convention for this year. This year we are bringing in speakers, Chad Hymas and Jennifer Taylor, to be the keynote speakers at this event. It's going to go, sorry, I probably should slow down. It's going to go June 25th through the 28th of this next week. So on June 25th, we'll start with a ATV ride, a trap shoot. There's other things, ATV ride, trap shoot, golf tournament at the Oaks, and a poker ride that's going to go up over the Energy Loop. So we'll have several participants in all of those that will open up the event. And then on Thursday is the day that we'll have the keynote and the business meetings for the organization. We're going to host that at the fairgrounds. So Chad Hymas, Jenny Taylor are going to come. They're going to be the keynote speakers.
Chad's great.
I've heard great things. So
He's awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Yeah.
I think we're very
Those are two good speakers.
fortunate to have those two be able to join us.
Did you
and
need us to come and listen to them?
You're
to help
more than
support
welcome
you?
to come. You are all welcome to come. This year at that event on Thursday, we'll be honoring several firefighters for their years of service. And I think with all of those years of service, there's 4,000 years of service that will be honored this year at the convention. So pretty cool. Those are the years that will be awarded and how many of those individuals will be getting in each one of those service areas. We'll also be having a memorial service. Those are the firefighters that have passed away this last year. That will be honored at a memorial service up at the Stake Center next to Maple Mountain on Thursday evening at 4 o'clock. And then after that memorial service, we'll be hosting a parade, which is for all of our community to participate in. We hope that we can line the streets up in the neighborhood that we're going to do this parade. It's going to be from the Diamond Fork Middle School and end at the All Abilities Park. It's going to go down 1150 East, turn on 3rd South, and then 1400 East down to the back of the All Abilities Park. So if you're in the community, we invite you to participate. Come out, see the fire trucks and firefighters from all over the state as we celebrate our time together and show off what heroes and everything that they are to their community. So this is the parade route. It'll start at Diamond Fork, go down 1150, turn onto 3rd South, and then go down 1400 East to the back of the All Abilities Park.
I'm guessing this will be a loud parade?
It'll be sirens and, well, good time, maybe some water sprayed. So invite your friends and families and come line that area so that you can participate as part of this event as well. On Friday, all day, will be a training event that will take place at the fairgrounds. I just want to give a fair warning. There will be crashed vehicles that will look similar to this, that will be tipped up on each other, and firefighters will be participating in extrication training. And then we'll also have Life Flight helicopter coming in and out, helping our firefighters learn more about hoisting and lifting patients up off the ground with their hoist, and also doing landing zone operations. So helicopter will be in and out of the fairgrounds. There will be crash cars. It's not an emergency. It's firefighters from around the state doing training. We're excited to have this. I think it's an awesome opportunity to show off our city and our department, and we're looking forward to having all of them here.
Good
Any
luck.
questions?
This has been many months in the making, if not
our
longer.
team's done an excellent job. A year ago, we were asked to host this. They couldn't find a host city. And so they asked if Spanish Fork would host the convention this year, and we had firefighters that wanted to do it with the support of Seth and the mayor. We said, why not take a shot? And so I think we're going to put on the best one that they've had in 116 years here in Spanish Fork. I think we're going to be proud of it.
If it's the best one, they might call you and have you do it again. So fall short, and then they don't call you back.
I know. I think, that might happen, and I'm okay to say
Great
no.
attitude.
I'm okay to say no.
Just fall a little short. I've learned a couple things in my years.
For the stars,
Thanks, Chief.
not the sun.
Okay, well, moving on. Now we are going to consent items. Any questions there? Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the consent items A through D.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Cardin, a second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor? Say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, now we're going on to public hearing, and the first one, 9A, is the ordinance for the Johnson-Youd annexation.
Okay, so you guys have a few annexations on your agenda tonight, and they all might look a little bit familiar from a little over a month ago. I'll do some quick background information on these annexations real quick, since they all are following the same process, and then I'll just lay out the specific details for each one when I get to them. You saw these three annexations back on May 6th to express your intent to annex these by resolution. Big thank you to Vaughn for drafting the resolutions and the ordinances for all of these. These annexations can all be done by resolution because of Utah State Code 10.2.18 or 10.2.8.12. If a proposed annexation is an island or peninsula of unincorporated Utah County that is either less than 50 acres or contains less than 800 residents and has been serviced by one or more municipal services for at least a year, then an annexation does not have to follow the typical petition route. It instead can follow the resolution route, which is a little bit shorter and a little bit simpler. All three of the following annexations fall into one or both of those categories, so it can be done by petition, or by resolution, sorry. So since you saw these three on May 6th to adopt the resolution, tonight you'll be voting on the ordinance to approve the annexations with the proposed zoning as well. We had to wait at least 30 days from when the resolution was initiated, and we noticed for 3 weeks. And tonight it's a public hearing. Unlike last time when the resolutions were adopted, that was not a public hearing. Tonight they are public hearings. We brought these to the Planning Commission on June 4th to get their input on the zoning as well. If you go to the next slide, or I guess I can do it too. Forgot if this cool thing. Nice. All three of these annexations fall within the city's growth boundary and the city's annexation policy, so no worries there. So now onto this one specifically, the Johnson Yout. It's about 18.5 acres located at 300 West, 1600 North. The general plan designation for it is industrial, and as you can see here, most of the surrounding zoning is industrial as well. When the Development Review Committee saw this on March 5th, it was discussed that it should be annexed with I-1 light industrial, since it's surrounded by industrial. But when it went back to the DRC on April 30th, it was decided that instead the RR rural residential zone would be better for this annexation, just since there's no development plans in place. So once again, prior to this proposed motion tonight, you'll be voting on the ordinance to approve the annexations with the zoning. Staff and the Planning Commission is recommending that the ordinance to annex be approved with RR rural residential, based on the following findings. This is the plat also, just as a heads up. It is a larger island. Sorry, I should touch on this also. It's a larger island. Can you go back with this thing?
Oh, you should be able to, yeah.
Where's the button? This one? Ah, there we go. So here you can see the larger island of unincorporated Utah County. This annexation does not involve the whole thing. It's just a piece of it. Is this how you do the laser? Oh yeah, sweet. It's something like this. So just a small piece of it. There will still be an island left, but that's better than having one big island making smaller islands. The state likes that. Okay. Back to the plat. Back to the motion. So the findings that we have here are that the subject property is located within the city's annexation policy boundary and growth management boundary, that the city is currently providing services to other properties in the immediate vicinity, and that the proposed annexation would reduce the size of an existing island of unincorporated area. Any questions? Sorry, I went kind of out of order there.
Can I ask a little bit more why we decided to go from I-1 to RR? Like, what was the decision behind that?
Just because then, since we don't have any formal development applications, when there is a formal development application, a zone change will be required, so it will come back to you guys and the Planning Commission for any further insight that you might have.
Thank you.
Why not fill the whole hole?
Great question. It's because this was initiated actually by an applicant who applied via petition. We decided we could do it by resolution, and so didn't decide to throw anyone else in there.
So we didn't start the process, an applicant did, and we just took it over from there.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
I might add to that, we have talked to some of the other folks that own properties that are in that island, at least in recent years, and they
We prefer not to
expressed a desire to remain in the county. So
Yeah. It's a tough spot to be in the county.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
No
Ian.
more questions. This is a public hearing. Can I get a motion to go into public hearing?
Move that we go into public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Euler, second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Favor says yes.
Oh.
All night now.
Anyone want to address this issue? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to go out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilman Euler, second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, I think it's a simple one. Oh, shame.
It's my favorite part. No, it is simple. It's just frustrating that there's a hole today. Now there'll be two islands.
Yeah.
Closing it up would have been better, but I understand that folks don't want to come in. At what point do we go past the idea of asking nicely? Like, that creates a pretty tough area to manage. with now 2 islands in our plan.
Sir,
Is that rhetorical, maybe?
Isn't that up to the county, though? They're the ones that said we can have islands now, so it's
It
not
is.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
I
the
mean,
state changed that law.
a couple of
County
years
approves
back,
it.
right?
And in fairness to that particular comment, Mayor Pro Tem, we are making them smaller islands, but you're right. We have now 2 smaller islands for the story, too.
We're heading in the right direction.
I think the county will always support the islands becoming smaller.
Sure.
So Shane, your question's not so much of denying the motion because we're now creating 2 islands. It's why aren't we bringing everything in?
get them in.
I would have preferred the whole thing.
And I think
Much
the
painful as
reason
that.
why is because the property owners don't want to, obviously, and there's no reason that the city needs them to be in the city. So that being said, I think if there were a valid reason why those properties should be in Spanish Fork City and not the county, then yeah, there may be reason to bring the whole thing in. But
It'll be an interesting land use conversation when we get to the eventual zoning. You have this island of what could potentially be industrial next to what looks like some residents that aren't in our city,
Correct.
aren't afforded necessarily the conversation that we would normally give to someone in our city.
The whole area is general planned industrial.
It
though,
is.
So.
Mhm. Yep. And okay. It's not ideal.
Mayor and council, just one legal clarification that through the process, they can, people that don't want to be included can protest. And if we don't have half the area and half the value,
Yeah, that's right.
then then you can't annex them anyway.
So now they will be the only person in all of the area.
Right, 100% and 100%.
yeah.
Yep. So this was our chance. But, okay. I'm going to stop pontificating and move on.
All right, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the proposed ordinance to approve the Johnson-Yount annexation with RR zoning based on the following findings. Number 1, that the subject property is located within the city's annexation policy boundary and growth management boundary. Number 2, that the city is currently providing services to other properties in the immediate vicinity. And 3, that the proposed annexation would reduce the size of an existing island of unincorporated area.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilman Took and a second by Councilman Cardin. All in favor, say yes.
It's a roll call.
Oh, roll call. Okay, Councilman Marshall,
Yes.
Councilman Took,
Yes.
Councilman Cardin,
Yes.
Councilman Euler,
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck, yes.
Can we get a recording of Shane saying that yes? Because that was the
It
most
doesn't, I mean,
begrudging.
as I said it, I'm looking at Tara like it says in the notes, in the minutes, yes. It doesn't say, yeah.
But we all have it.
Worthless. It was
It's
a
all
worthless
imprinted there now, though.
Eye roll. Like either, never mind. Let's go on.
Moving on. Okay, the next one is 9B, ordinance for the Peterson-River Bottoms Road annexation.
Perfect. And I just realized, fun thing, these are all going down in size of total acreage for annexation, so they're just going to get smaller and smaller as we go. Thought I'd point that out. Okay. This next annexation is located at approximately 860 South River Bottoms Road, and it's only 4 acres, or approximately 4 acres in size. Sorry, forgot to do this. There's where it is. It has a general plan designation of both medium and high density residential, which you can see here. This annexation is actually kind of similar to one that you'll see next up as well, in that it's a part of a development that's already been approved, and we kind of have to make a boundary adjustment essentially to help accommodate the development. In this case, that's the River Run subdivision. They're required to complete some public improvements along River Bottoms Road, so the right-of-way of River Bottoms Road has to be annexed in order for them to do that. This annexation first showed up to the DRC in November of 2024, and it only included the right-of-way in order to fix that boundary issue. It did not include any adjacent properties. As of April of this year, however, the adjacent property owner to the northeast have decided to be a part of this annexation as well. So as you can see, it grew a little bit. And thank you to our city surveyor, Travis Warren, for kind of working with some of the confusing boundary lines over here and helping to draw up this plat map for us. So there are actually 2 zoning designations that are recommended for this annexation because of the fact that now there are some adjacent property owners being involved. The RR Rural Residential zoning designation is recommended to be applied to the adjacent property owners who are the ones who have joined the annexation because they won't have anything to do with the River Run subdivision or improvements, and they currently have no development plans, so RR feels like a great fit for them. And then the R3 zoning designation be applied to the right-of-way as to match the zoning designation of the River Run subdivision. So it'll be kind of split in half almost, with R3 on this side and RR on the other side. So the staff and Planning Commission recommendation is that the proposed ordinance to annex be approved with the R3 and RR zoning designations based on the following findings. That the subject property is located within the city's annexation policy boundary and growth management boundary, that the city's general plan land use designation for the area is medium density residential with a small portion in the high density residential designation, and that this annexation is needed to solve a boundary issue for the River Run residential development. That I just realized says 50 acres. It's not supposed to say 50 acres, it's supposed to say 4 acres.
4?
Yeah, it's definitely
4
not
acres,
50.
not 50 acres. That
Just a
would be
couple
much,
feet.
much larger.
It's right in the staff report, so
Yeah.
you're good.
You're good.
Anything else, Ian? Okay.
Makes sense.
Any questions before we go into public hearing?
None.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I move that we go into public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion to go into public hearing by Councilman Cardin and a second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Okay, is there anyone out there that would like to address this? Come on up. Please state your name, and then if you'll try your best to keep it at 3 minutes.
No problem. My name's Karen Olson, and we are the addition to this annexation. I just want to make sure that be assured that we are not going to lose our well rights, and we have horses. Is that an issue, being in the city?
Nope.
No, it's not.
Okay, so we were assured that nothing would change except that we'd be in the city instead of the county.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get more horses.
Well, he just got one more, so we have 3 now.
And should your well go dry, not that you want to, but you now would have access to be able to be on the city's water systems.
Well, I'm not sure that we can really, because we're on the east side. The canal is under the road. I mean, we could from over the top, but it's costly.
Yeah, it's just a matter of engineering, but that obstacle of being in the city or not, you'd have access to that service.
That's something we'd have to purchase, though. We'd have to pay
Eventually,
for ourselves,
yeah.
right?
I'm just saying that
to
if
put
your
in the
well- if
line
your
and everything.
Go dry, yeah.
But there's no requirement for them to move from well to.
I have no require for curb and gutter, and
No, not unless if you were to develop. or change your use.
Build a
but-
new house.
develop means just build another house
Yeah.
on the property.
At that point, you would.
And then the curb and gutter would just go in front of the property that's being
Correct.
developed,
Correct.
not in front of the whole thing,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Okay, does this mean that they can actually vote in the upcoming elections?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
officially, right?
You're now Spanish Fork residents after this passes.
I don't know that they could be
I don't know if that's a
candidates,
perk or
'cause I
not,
think they have to be
but-
residents for a year, so they might not.
You can't run for city council for another year,
Declaration's over.
Well, we
But
don't
you
have to
can-
worry about that.
but you can vote now. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, can I get a motion to go out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Euler, a second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor, say yes.
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 Okay, any other questions or comments?
So we know about the Olson property. The road, when we annex a road like this, is it city-owned, or who owns that road, or who's the property owner, or the county, or how does that work? It's city-owned property? Okay.
Yeah, we take over the maintenance of the road.
Our snow plows were lifting up for a second as they went over and then dropping back down anyway.
No, but yeah, we take over the asphalt maintenance part of it. Yeah.
Perfect. I was hoping to see Jared out there just lifting and dropping that blade every couple
I'd just love to
feet.
see Jared in a snowplow.
I don't know if we do. Our insurance rate would go up a little.
Pass.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the proposed ordinance. Let me get on, make sure we're there. Proposed ordinance to approve the Peterson-River Bottoms Road annexation with R3 and RR zoning based on the following findings: that the subject property is located within the city's annexation policy boundary and growth management boundary, that the city's general planned land use designation for the annexation area is medium-density residential with a small portion in the high-density residential designation, that this annexation is needed to solve a boundary issue for the River Run residential development.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Euler and a second by Councilman Marshall. This is a roll call vote. Councilman Euler?
Yes.
Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Councilman Took?
Yes.
Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck? Yes. We appreciate Marshall not rolling his eyes with that, and the motion is approved.
I was wondering when you were going to drop the councilman and then just start
That's
calling us
not
by
till
last
we
name.
go into RDA and LBA. Yeah, I'll save that.
Save the time.
I love when we get yelled at.
Okay.
Next.
Next is public hearing on number C, ordinance approving the Creekside annexation.
Okay, this one is very small. So this one's located at 1527 South Main Street, and it is only 0.32 acres. The general planned land use designation for it is mixed use with some in the floodplain as well. So this is really similar to the last one we just talked about because this is also being used to solve a weird boundary issue. We're not entirely sure on the whole history of this and how this came to be, but a part of a parcel that is a part of the Creekside development, which you guys saw recently, is actually sticks outside of the city boundary. So a majority of it is inside of the boundary. Part of it is outside city boundary. So this is just a cleanup that's needed in order to rezone that parcel, since we can't zone things for Utah County. So staff and the Planning Commission is recommending the R4 zoning designation and to approve the ordinance to annex with the R4 zoning designation based on the following findings. Here's a plat for it also if you're curious. Really, really small. That the subject property is located within the city's annexation policy boundary and growth management boundary. That the city's general plan land use designation for the annexation area is mixed use. That a majority of parcel 25, 28, 111 is already within the city, and that the parcel is a part of the Creekside Village development.
So is this just a little island? Like, does this fill in the gaps?
Yeah, it fills in. It's essentially just fills in the rest of the parcel, so that way it's within the city.
All right.
It's hard to tell, but the city boundary goes like this, and the parcel boundary goes like this.
It's almost like the legal description at some point in time zigged instead of zagged, right? Because it cut a parcel, which we don't typically annex portions of parcels. So this is just probably a mapping or we're going to call it a surveyor's error.
The zoning
That's
map
typically what we call them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Zoning map shows it a little bit better, like
Yeah.
the exactness of
And
it.
so you can just see the kind of
that one, Shane.
It's-
I know it's not zoomed out enough, but
What about I understand this cleanup, so why didn't the annexation follow the property lines talking about looking at the property to the north as well, that goes straight up and cuts into that parcel, which is, the majority of that parcel is not Spanish Fork, but then that little tiny piece is. I guess why doesn't it?
The part in red is actually part of the green shaded parcel to the west of it. It's all one parcel. As the line was drawn, am I getting this right, Ian and Dave?
Yeah.
So it's probably as the line was drawn for the legal description, instead of going this way, it went that way. There's a term for it, I'm sure, in the surveyor's world, but it ended up breaking the parcel. So this still follows it follows the parcel boundary.
Seth said breaking the parcel. It's really, really rare. Like I've seen it before, but it's rare for a parcel to be partly in a municipality and partly in the county. And that's this here. So
that's this piece, but that's also the piece directly, the parcel north, right? The McKell property, where you can see that line goes straight up.
That's our parcel.
That is our parcel, because according to the map, you can see the line, the white line that goes to the left.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that line right there is the boundary, the property line.
But doesn't it come down and down again?
So
it shows that the red line is the annexed property, so everything in green is in Spanish Fork City. Yeah. But that white line is the property line, showing there's a piece of that property that's in Spanish Fork City and the rest of it's in the county. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just curious why
triangle.
Why didn't that follow that property line when that annexation took place? How did it get into the McKell property?
I see what you're saying. It's probably similar. That's probably a similar error.
It's usually a surveying problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just wondering
if engineers did this, it would be perfect. But
Zigging instead of zagging.
they're paying a tiny portion of property taxes to the city.
We have Travis look at this one as well.
Yeah.
True.
There's different boundary lines for different parcels, but when you annex a piece of property, you annex the person's property as you're annexing it, and you follow their parcel line. And so the green parcel line does go across the river and does follow where that is, and that is correct. They just made an error, and they didn't include the little red portion.
Yeah.
So the error is from in the past. The error is not what's today.
Jared, I'll chat with you about what he's talking about.
I understand what we're cleaning up today. I'm just looking
Looks
at
like
another,
there's an error on the McKell property as well.
Yeah,
to the
piece
north.
To the north.
in the opposite
Yeah, in the opposite triangle.
kind of fashion. Yeah.
Other than that, yeah.
we do a public hearing?
All right, no, let's go into public hearing. Can I get a motion?
I move to move into public hearing.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Marshall and a second by Councilman Euler. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone want to address this one? Okay, seeing none. Can I get a motion to go out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Now, okay,
You play the,
Marshall and Cardin.
there you go.
See, I'm not going to make it all night doing the councilman. Okay. I have a motion by Councilman Marshall, a second by Councilman Cardin. All in favor, say yes to go out of public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? All right, can I get a motion to approve this?
Let's see.
I move to approve the proposed ordinance to approve the Creekside annexation with R4 zoning based on the findings that Ian read and that are listed in the staff report.
Very good.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Cardin, a second by Councilman Marshall. This is a roll call vote, so Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Councilman Took?
Yes.
Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck? Yes. And Councilman Euler?
Yes.
Okay, so that one is approved. The next one is D, the ordinance approving the Larson Ranch rezone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Temp. The subject property in this case back up to just over 9 acres. This is located at about 1200 South, 2000 West. This property is part of, recently been discussed, the Larson Ag Protection Area. And up until just a few years ago, the subject property was zoned rural residential. The proposal tonight is to change the zoning of the parcel there that's outlined in yellow from R130 to rural residential. We don't often see things migrate from a zoning perspective in that direction. We call that down zoning. And maybe just a little bit more on the history that I think is relevant. I'm going to go back here. So you can see that not only currently is the subject property zoned R130, but also about a 30,000 square foot or so property right there, a lot. And the zoning of all of this was changed to accommodate the subdivision that created that, if that makes sense. So they wanted a lot that was less than 5 acres in size, in that case more than 30,000 square feet in size, so the R130 zone worked to accommodate that subdivision. So today, for whatever reasons, the applicant has requested that the larger parcel that remained with that subdivision be instead zoned rural residential. And in short, staff is supportive of that proposal. The Planning Commission recommended that the proposal be approved. From my perspective, there's not really a downside in doing that. So I'm just going to cut to the chase even. We have supporting materials that the applicant provided. They're included in the staff report. But in short, we're recommending indeed that the proposed zone change for the Larson Ranch proposal be approved based on the findings that the subject property is located in the Larson Agricultural Protection Area, and that the existing home currently fails to meet the front setback for the R130 zone, which would also be the case in the rural residential zone. I want to come back and touch on that in just a second. Our third recommended finding is that the subject property contains more than 5 acres, the minimum size required for one home in the rural residential zone. Fourth, that much of the subject property has recently been used for agricultural purposes. Then finally, that most of the surrounding properties are currently zoned rural residential. That second condition, about the only thing I think that we'd really be concerned about as staff would be down zoning a property to where something becomes non-conforming, to where, for example, currently a lot qualifies by way of size in a particular zone, but when you go to a zone that requires a larger lot size, it becomes non-conforming. That can certainly create some challenges in different ways. And indeed, in this case, there is a home on the subject property, but with it being 9 acres and the minimum lot size being 5 acres in the rural residential zone, there's no issue with that. But we have that being non-conforming. There is one existing non-conforming issue with the front setback. And that gets to be, you could say, maybe a little more non-conforming with the proposed change, but all in all, it's basically the same. So as we've looked at what would be non-conforming with the change, it's really not consequential, in my opinion. It's kind of same for same. So no hesitations in that regard by way of, again, the down zoning. And based on those findings, we recommend that the proposed zone change be approved.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Any questions before we go into public hearing? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion?
Move that we go into public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Euler, second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Marshall
Hey.
said with a smile on his face, apparently.
Start
Are
using
there
emojis.
anyone wants to address us with this? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to go out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilman Euler, second by Councilman Took. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, can we get a motion?
Do it again. You did such a great job last time.
You got this one.
All right, I move to approve the proposed ordinance to approve the Larson Ranch zoning map amendment based on the findings that are in staff report and is articulated by Dave.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Marshall and a second by Councilman Cardin. This is another roll call vote. Councilman Took.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck, yes. Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Cardin.
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. Okay, moving on to our last public hearing.
Still my eye roll?
9E, resolution approving
as much
fiscal
sustain your
year
voice.
2025 budget revision number 2 by Jordan Hells.
Have a lot of budget stuff tonight because we're finalizing 2026's budget and then doing a revision for 2025's budget. Jack's going to pull up the PDF for the final revision of this year's budget. Not a whole lot of changes. The general fund revenues and expenses both changed slightly. Also proposing to move $750,000 in the general fund into the capital projects fund. If you'll go down, Jack, to the general fund revenue table. And just keep going down just a little bit further so you can see that information right there. The red column is the proposed budget. The green column is the revision 1 budget that we've been working off of. And then the black column on the far right is any changes. So you can see revenues are going up $657,000. The transfers are increasing, transfers out by $750,000, and then expenses are going up $386,000. What we've seen is revenues are trending slightly above budget and expenses are trending slightly below budget. So we feel confident that we can transfer $750,000 out and still have the fund and still have an increase in the fund's balance for the fiscal year. Any questions on the general fund?
Jordan, just real quick, just to clarify, not clarify, but expound a little bit. In our work session just prior to this meeting, we talked quite a bit about the budget. And you, as the finance director and as accountant, kind of explained why it's hard to get a zero across the board when balancing a budget, that you don't get to a zero. Do you want to just kind of...
Yeah, I think what we were talking about is the concept of a balanced budget. And I think a lot of people think of a balanced budget as revenue always has to be greater than expenses. That's not the case because sometimes, you spend more than you bring in any given month or any given year. But if you have reserves, you can use those reserves to balance the budget. So when you see a negative number in that red row there, that is when we have used reserves to balance the budget. And when you see a positive number, we're adding to the reserves. Is that what you're hitting upon?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Jordan, before you leave, in that same meeting, we talked about that, what looks like a negative balance in the fund or a deduction or reduction from the fund. You explained that that is the case as of right now, but you anticipate that over the next couple of weeks that could change and actually turn into a positive.
Yeah, so that red column, the very bottom number there shows a decrease, a budgeted decrease of the fund balance. So using $300,000 of reserves, we're anticipating that we'll actually end $1 million higher than that. And that's simply a result of the budget is about $50 million. So when you're...
Wait a sec, higher meaning positive,
yes,
not higher negative.
Higher is in positive. Instead of
adding money to the fund balance.
Gotcha.
Yeah, instead of using $300,000 of fund balance or reserves, anticipate it ending around $700,000 positive.
Because we'll put money in the bank.
Adding to the reserves in the general fund.
Gotcha.
While also squirreling away $750,000 in the capital project for future use.
Whirling, an accounting term?
It is.
Because that's the only one I understood.
That is, yeah, that's the first one you learn.
That's shocking.
We're winning, Shane. You and I were winning. We're squirreling that one away. That's what we're going to do.
All right.
Keep that one.
Will you go down to the next header page, Jack? I think it.
What are we turning him into?
Keep going.
Put you into him.
Where the entire page is a header. Title page. I don't know what you want to call it. RDA. Okay. We will come back to that when we get to the RDA. If you'll keep going down to the next one. All right, Capital Project Fund, Land Acquisition Capital Building Fund. You see quite a large increase in land acquisition from $650,000 to $2 million. There were several properties that the city has had on its eyes on to purchase in the future. Those properties became available sooner rather than later, and the city, as most people know, when you get a chance to buy property. If property's for sale and you want it, you usually need to pounce. So the city has done that, and consequently, we've had to increase the budget in this fund. Good news is that the fund's balance is still going up $220,000, due partly to transfers in from the general fund. That $750,000 that we talked about increase coming in. Yeah. Any questions on that fund? So this fund's purpose is to set aside funds for land acquisition and for buildings like renovating the old library into a rec office, those type of things.
So we made a guess at the first of the year and put a budget together. Made some decisions throughout the year to go over that budget.
Right.
And we're making that fund whole, or this particular fund whole, by a transfer from the general revenue or the general fund into here.
Yeah, you guys had already approved those property purchases. Now this is just formalizing that
Where the money
budget
came from. Okay.
so that we don't get written
Because there's
up.
no revenue that comes into this, so you have to move.
Yeah, there are some revenues, interest earnings on the cash that's there. I can't remember what that $100,000. There was some agreement.
That's the county. The county participating in a capital project.
Okay. Yeah.
So revenues, the revenue
very-
stream is pretty small.
Yeah, limited revenue. Most of the money coming into this fund is savings from the general fund.
Transfers.
Yep. All right, Jack. Let's go down to that next title page. So enterprise funds. We had 2 enterprise funds that we need to do a budget revision on. First is the airport fund. There were 2 things that were driving the need here. First one, Wings and Wheels was over budget, that event. And the second one was some air traffic planning. There's a lot going on at the airport, and some planning is necessary. Yeah. Corey's not here to speak to that one either. But so you can see expenses are going up $136,000. Jack, if you'll scroll down to the next page, revenues are actually decreasing by $64,000 there. Yeah. But any questions about the airport fund?
We're not expecting this one to change between now and.
Yeah, there's only 2 weeks left in the fiscal year.
So the other one we were talking about how it'll be a positive by the end. This one we're not expecting any changes.
No, not drastically.
Okay.
No more.
Jack, if you want to go down to I know the Gun Club is the next one. Gun Club has had some significant changes in operation since they introduced something called the sporting clay course. And I know that they're putting a little bit more manpower behind operating that. So you'll see in part-time wages a $37,000 increase there. Total expenses of $90,000 increase. And if you go down to the revenues, I want to think it was $97,000, $96,000 in increase, $98,000. So though we are increasing expenses by $90,000, we have the revenue to cover that increase. So yeah, our gun club is kind of going through some growing pains and some things and some changes that way. Any questions on this revision? And we'll talk about the RDA when we get there. No changes to the LBA budget, so we won't have a hearing for that. All right, I'll be around.
No questions then? Okay, can I get a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Took, a second by Councilman Cardin. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Okay, does anyone want to address the budget for 2025? Seeing none, can I get a motion to go out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Cardin, a second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Okay, any questions? Okay, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the resolution approving fiscal year 2025 budget revision 2.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Took, a second by Councilman Marshall. This is another roll call vote. Councilman Euler?
Yes.
Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Councilman Took?
Yes.
Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilman Beck? Yes. Okay, that is approved. Moving on to number 10, new business, and A is Amended Development Agreement for the Villas at Annie's Acres, a planned senior community by, I was gonna say Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Vince Vaughn. Is that a person?
Be funnier.
The comedian.
An actor.
That's what I thought.
It's a real person.
Okay, wow. We better get done with this night quickly.
We're only at 7:15.
The proposed development agreement is an amendment of the Annie's Acres development agreement because it will replace that agreement because of the growth there, the new development that's coming in, the villas at Annie's Acres, which is a senior community, a 55 and older community consisting of 103 units. The agreement addresses a number of things. It was a condition of approval of the final plat that they enter into this agreement with the city. It addresses landscaping, amenities. Yes, thanks for showing that. That's kind of an overall of the project. That sheet should actually replace sheet 30 in the document of the Annie's Acres Development Agreement. There was an outdated version. This one you can tell is updated. It shows the new clubhouse and pool configuration, and you can also see scattered throughout some perpendicular parking areas to the road. So that's how you can tell the difference between those. The Exhibit D should probably be replaced with the approved final plat and construction plans, not just the exhibit that's in your packet tonight. That was approved by the DRC previously. And then Exhibit E is an easement for a monument sign. There's a city-owned parcel at the entrance to their project where it would grant them an easement to maintain an entry monument sign for the development, and in return they would maintain that parcel and the sign there. That is mostly what is covered. The applicant's here if you'd like to discuss anything with him. Those are the highlights.
We received an email this afternoon about an adjacent property, about the road being, I don't know what the right word is, to bring their equipment in and out of their property, like with the grading. Can we just put it on the record that will be still okay, that they'll be able to get their equipment out? We have to leave it so they can get in and out of their property, right?
Yes, for absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, for sure.
Okay. I think that's the only thing I heard about this.
There's a
Elevation concern.
Yeah.
yeah, the elevation getting onto river bottoms.
That's a different area and different project, but this area on the Annie's Acres side of the villas is not going.
This is not the one abutting the.
This still
Bradford
abuts
Lane.
her property, but the problem that she has is with the Utah County overlay that was done up around the irrigation structure.
Right, and it seems like we looked at a set of plans that was reconfiguring the intersection between River Bottoms and Bradford. This is not this one.
This is not that. We will do that in the future, but that is not this project.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we're just tying, Bradford doesn't change it. Okay.
It just stays exactly
All
where
right.
it is for
All
now.
right, that's helpful.
With
It
this,
is changing on the south end where it connects to South Lane, though, right?
Yes,
you
I mean, Bradford Lane on
reconfiguring that
this
part?
is the road to the, well, it's to the east of this, the top of this map.
Which
That
would
is
be-
Bradford Lane,
That's a much improved
much improved
that
Bradford Lane.
road right now is sketchy, to say the least.
And I think she had one more concern, and I think this is just a matter of putting this on the record. I think you've addressed it. There's a pipe that takes water from, I guess it's the south side of Bradford, through this development, and dumps it into Mill Race?
Dumps it into the fairgrounds ditch that eventually goes into the mill
So
road.
she's want to make sure that doesn't back up into her field. You've accommodated that. All right. Staff has said yes. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
We have multiple ways of draining the area now.
Okay.
So,
It should be improved.
right.
Okay. All right. Those are the two things I.
Yep, that's all I got.
Okay, anything else? Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the amended development agreement for the villas at Annie's Acres, a planned senior community based on the findings contained in the staff report and the agreement recitals. That was written by Vaughn.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Cardin, a second by Councilman Marshall. This is also a roll call vote. Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Councilman Took?
Yes.
Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck? Yes. And Councilman Euler?
Yes.
Okay, that is approved.
I almost forgot your name.
The next one is B, the ordinance amending Appendix L to the building code. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing great. How is everybody?
Good.
We're doing great.
Glad that I
Welcome.
can make it here tonight with everything that's happening around town or next door to us.
Busy now.
Yeah, it was loud out there a couple
yeah.
hours ago.
3 fires today. So our guys are up in Springville right now helping on a house fire after the one we had here. So
Wow.
I think it's a good opportunity to talk about be safe out there with this dry season, right?
Yes.
Like there is a lot of potential for fire.
from now till we get snow, if nobody lit fireworks or
Right.
touched a match, that would make our
Oh, that's
life
not
easier.
going to happen. Sorry.
No, it won't. The only
There
good
are
thing
some
is
of us out there that like fire.
My daughter left yesterday afternoon to go for a dirt bike ride up to West Mountain. She just got to the base and there were a bunch of trucks, lights on, and they wouldn't let her up because I guess the other side of West Mountain was on fire. So
yeah, I know.
a lot
it's
going
been-
on.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah, it's not going to be a good year for us. Everybody will have fun, but
But you.
hopefully, yeah,
We'll stay safe.
yeah, we'll do our
stay
best, like we always do. So, I guess I'm here tonight to clarify Appendix L in the building ordinances for the city. With the adoption of Appendix L originally, it was kind of vague. With this revision and adoption that we're asking for tonight is basically making it a little bit more understanding and clarifying. Starting at the top, it's just kind of just the purpose of, the reason why we're adopting it, just so that we can have basically a lifeline for firefighters inside of the large structures. Having the buildings go up to 500,000 square feet instead of the 250 that was originally adopted. That makes it a little bit easier for some of the warehouses that are coming into the northwest part of town, so that they won't have to have those systems in. Currently, if you want to just kind of have a ballpark idea of the size of a 500,000 square foot warehouse, the one that's directly west of the airport that's under construction now is 500,000 square feet. That one's not being required to put a system in because they had their plans approved before the adoption of the appendix. So that one does not have the system, but from now on, that is the size of building and larger that would be required to have one of these firefighter air systems in them. And so if you ever have a chance, drive out by there and see a large structure. So I'm hoping that that's as big as they get in town, but we'll see. So, and then it just goes, then it just goes down and gives, after the scope, just updates the requirements for it. So we've got the buildings that are 5 stories and more above ground, and then the ones that are going to be 2 and 3 stories below grade. If we ever get one of those, then the system will be required after they go to the 3rd level underneath the ground. And so with our water level, I don't think that anybody's going to go 3 stories below, but there's a possibility. And then this is also defining in here that it's not going to be used on residential buildings and homes. It's just going to be the commercial. So anything that comes underneath the International Residential Code does not apply to this appendix. So
when I build my 600,000 square foot house, I don't have to worry about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you put sprinklers in it, we'll say it's good. So
11-acre house.
Yeah. If you get that big, please put sprinklers in it. It'll save you a lot of headache. And then just any of them that has the 500,000 square foot of continuous fire area. So if somebody does build a 500,000 square foot warehouse and then they put firewalls and separate portions of it to bring the overall square footage under the 500,000, then they wouldn't be required to have this system put in. So it just depends on how they're going to build it, whether they're going to keep a firewall around the office space or whatever, then that kind of helps them so that they don't have to put the system in. But we would still love it if they did, but it's not required. And then the next section for the location, it just kind of, the highlights gives me or the fire chief or another fire marshal after me the option to go in and help them kind of design or work around the system so that somebody doesn't come in like on the one building that we had that isn't coming right now. When it was designed, they told us they were going to put 36 fill stations in it when all they needed was 6. So that cut the price drastically down for them. So it just lets us go in and help them design and talk to them about where they're going to have their high pile storage, their racks, office space, whatever. Then we can work on telling them, you just put them in here. You don't have to have them like every 200 feet or every 50 feet, whatever their layout is, just to kind of give us an opportunity to help them build the system that will be beneficial to them instead of just throwing in a bunch of fill stations that are not really needed, and they just would help them also. Okay. And then the rest of it pretty much stays the same. So are there any questions from the council?
I have a question, just a comment. I know that this has been in the works for a while, like the first iteration, then we had a second iteration. Now we're on hopefully our final iteration for now, right?
Yeah.
But I know there's been a lot of work done behind the scenes, and as I read this week, I could understand it. So I'm hoping that the developers that are coming in can understand it and at least make it work for what they're trying to do, and get an understanding, like you're saying, with not having to overthink how many fill stations they need.
Yeah, and along that week, John Little and I were tasked to develop the wording and work through this ordinance or appendix, and so we did. We came up with verbiage. We each sent it out to architects that we knew and other designers and asked them to review it, and they gave us some of their feedback, and mostly it was positive. And so then we just took that verbiage and used that to try to make it simple for anybody that wants to read it. So.
That's awesome.
Maybe on those, there was some initial, just adding to what Jason said, there was some initial confusion, and I think we've tried to address that specifically in the location section. Where is it, Jason, number 3, where it says in large buildings with an area of 500,000 square feet, and then kind of skipping down to ensure these must be placed in such a way that the maximum travel distance from any point within the building to the nearest fill panel does not exceed 200 feet. There was some confusion with some of the initial drafts that they had to be, the fill stations themselves had to be 200 feet apart. And the intent there is that they can be 400 feet apart, that if I'm standing in the middle, that's 200 in either direction, right? And so I think they've done a really good job, or have attempted to do a good job, best we can at the moment, to get the language so that it's understandable, that they can get it right. But if it's not, then Jason will help them. He'd rather them be able to understand it, right?
Yeah, and ask instead of just do. It's kind of like fire extinguishers.
The only negative
75 feet of access. I still have contractors. Where do we need to put these? So it's going to be the same with this. So
the only negative that I've heard from anybody is, and I think this will always be the case, is to put this in is X dollars, to not put this in is to save X dollars. So, to make me do anything, I'm going to have to spend money. And I think if you hear any complaints, if we hear any complaints through the years, it will be that. I may not have to put this somewhere else. So I think it's important for you to understand that you will get some kickback if somebody does create a large structure with no division, that they'll have to put this in, and there will be a cost to that. I think that both Jason and John have done a really good job of providing a number of ways to make it so it's not. So if they don't want to put in a fire system, they can do
2 or 3 different things to make it safer for them and safer for the firefighters. But if they want an open, unmitigated space that's that big, they're going to have to put this in to make it safe. And there will be a cost to that.
Yeah, and hopefully, just like fire alarms and fire sprinklers, after people start installing them, the price can come down. And that's what I'm hoping, that as technology and things get better, then hopefully that price can make it more affordable for everybody, so that they might want to just put it in like their $250,000 or whatever. My hope in the future. So, but yeah, right now I don't like the sticker shock myself, but I'm not making the system, so.
You're trying to make it safe.
Yeah, I'm just making sure that the occupants of the buildings are safe and that my firefighters that go in are going to be safe, because the number one cause of firefighter fatalities in large structures is getting disoriented, running out of air, and can't be found. We're here. These systems will be in there. If somebody gets disoriented, they can crawl to one, plug in their air pack, and when they open up the door to plug in their air pack, it sets off an alarm on the fire alarm panel, so our guys that are outside on incident command or whatever can say, okay, this panel's been activated on the map, same guy's right there, and then they can be on air until somebody shows up.
I think to your point, Seth, yes, that's what's going to happen. But those are the rules to build something over 500,000 square feet in Spanish Fork. As long as we lay out the rules and they're consistent and we apply them consistently, I think that's what we have to do. So I'm very comfortable with it.
Thanks for all your work on this, Jason.
Yep, thanks, Jason.
You're welcome. Happy to. Any other questions?
Thank you, Jason.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no questions, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the ordinance amending Appendix L to the building code in Section 144010 of the Spanish Fork Municipal Code pertaining to firefighter air replenishment systems.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Euler, a second by Councilman Marshall, and this is another roll call vote. Councilman Took?
Yes.
Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck? Yes. Councilman Euler?
Yes.
And Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Okay, approved. All right. The next one is number 10C, resolution approving the fourth amended and restated interlocal agreement for construction, use, and maintenance of joint wastewater treatment facility and joint trunk lines.
I know Corey loves talking about wastewater, but he's not here, so I get the
You get the short
As you
stick?
were walking up, I was like,
I'm
wait,
like, me too.
Does Jordan know what we're talking about?
I do know.
I knew you
a
knew what
little
we were
bit.
talking about.
We're talking
I was
about
just
numbers
surprised
a
to
little
see
bit.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was super rude by Councilmember Cardin.
it was all right. It's all right.
It's not acceptable.
I don't know how to treat wastewater, but I do know how to
Finance it.
do finances, I guess. Yeah. As you can see, this is the fourth amended resolution. A little over a year ago, we issued debt to help secure the final round of funding for the treatment plant. Residents may remember that Mapleton City owns 20% of that plant and will pay for 20% of the plant. There's multiple issuances of debt that this agreement goes over and how each city pays for their share of it. And there were some grants that were received along the way that helped fund that as well. So this agreement just spells out the intricacies of mainly focusing on the debt and the payment schedule and structure that Mapleton pays us, because we're the ones that issued the debt, but Mapleton pays us for their share of the debt, and then we make that payment in full. But that is the high level of this agreement.
So what changed?
What changed?
Yeah.
Another issuance of debt. That's why we had to amend it, because there was another round of debt issued since the third amended agreement.
That's the final one, right?
I'm hoping this is the final one. There's no more debt to issue, no more grants to be received. We're ready to start treating wastewater.
So, nothing escalated We just hadn't issued all the debt that was
Correct.
approved.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, the first round of debt was issued in 2020. This has been more than 5-year process when you start just thinking about the idea of creating a plant from then design and construction. And yeah, it's a long process.
So when we passed I don't remember. I don't know if I was on the city council when we approved
The original one?
the original one or the construction amount. Maybe I was. It doesn't matter.
Like in 18?
No, we did the original one. We were meeting at the High Chaparral during COVID.
Oh.
And that you might recall, I think we did about $80 million and like a 1% interest rate, something super low. And I don't remember when we did the GMP. You might not have been on the council then.
So we had a GMP. This doesn't exceed the GMP. We just issued debt in 4
Yeah.
different places.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just want to be very clear. We're not.
Yeah,
we're not taking on more debt than we have agreed
no,
to.
this
in
is
the
a
past.
cleanup bill. This is a cleanup to the amendment and the interlocal agreement that we have with Mapleton to now reflect everything that we've done associated with the treatment plant and the funding for it.
Yeah.
Now that we're done, we can memorialize what we've done with them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is formalizing what's already occurred.
That all?
That's all.
I was able to tour the treatment plant last week. They did tours for a couple hours. You would never know you were even at a treatment plant. You're just walking through buildings with a lot of pipes.
Yeah, it's,
You will.
Until you go up to the pool of water and it's nice and clean right now.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, it's amazing. The technology, unbelievable.
they made one. I asked Corey while I was there. I asked either Corey or Zach, one of them, like, what's the thing you're most excited about this one compared to the old one? Corey showed me that almost every piece of equipment that they've got in there, there's a white pipe that comes out of the top of it and goes around the ceiling, and those are all used to vacuum out the smell and take the smell to a certain who knows where. But hopefully that will help.
Magic place.
I asked Corey if you could bottle it and sell it.
It would be a good timeout place for parents to use for their kids this summer.
We will make Harry Potter jelly beans out of it.
Spanish Fork, wastewater.
But yeah, imagine going from our old facility to this new one that has that feature, how much nicer that's going to be for those that work there.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
It'll be nice.
Okay, any questions on this? If not, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the resolution approving fourth amended and restated interlocal agreement for construction, use, and maintenance of joint wastewater treatment facility and joint trunk lines.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Euler, a second by Councilman Cardin. This is a roll call vote. Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilman Took?
Yes.
Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Councilman Euler?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck? Yes. Okay, the last one in new business is the resolution approving the fiscal year 2026 budget. Welcome back, Jordan Hells.
Yeah, it's budget night.
Budget night, yeah.
It is. So this is the culmination of a few different steps with the budget. The budget was presented tentatively at the beginning of May. Public had access to it since that first council meeting in May. 2 weeks ago, we had a public hearing on it. We did not have a whole lot of attendance in that meeting for that.
Well, let's be clear, there was no one in the room.
There was no comments. No. I was disheartened by that. But
Not only no comments, there was no one in the room, like Shane said.
Where were you two?
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
We needed you.
We were counting on you.
You could have laid down, set up camp.
There have been a
few
changes since the tentative budget was presented. The general fund revenues have gone up a little over 100,000. Expenses have gone up about 10,000. The VERT capital project had some expenses that we thought would happen in this fiscal year, fiscal 25, and they are going to be bumped to fiscal 26. And that the rest of them are, as accountants would call, are immaterial, which means they're so small as to be insignificant. Yeah. And there's no need for a public hearing. That happened 2 weeks ago, so it's just time to approve the budget.
Jordan,
Yes.
you're not going to maybe pull this out while you're standing there, but do you remember what the certified tax rate
I
came
was
back
just
as?
looking at it. It is 0.000. I can't remember how many zeros. 986, which means it's a little less than 1%.
We're in the 11s right now.
1080, I think 1086.
Okay.
30986 is the certified tax rate. So that is the tax rate that will generate the same amount of revenue as the year prior.
Great.
And if you wanted to put the rate above that, then you have to go through the truth in taxation
And
process.
that's for property taxes, correct?
For property taxes, and that's the city's property tax
Yes.
rate. The school district has its own tax rate, as well as Utah County, and Central Utah Water Conservancy District also has a separate tax rate. It's all one bill to the residents
Yeah.
that they pay to Utah County, but then it gets dispersed to those various taxing entities. And last year that rate was 0.001069.
So I said 10.8, I was wrong, 1069. Yep.
So in layman terms, that means property taxes for your city portion are actually going down.
The rate is going down.
The rate is going.
What happens with your value?
That's very true. That's why I never talk
value.
about taxes.
It is, the property
Never
tax
mind.
is complex. As values goes up, the rate gets driven down.
Yeah. What it means is we are not having a property tax increase.
We're not increasing
in the city.
If you see an increase, it's due to the value or another taxing entity doing an increase.
Yeah, it gets tricky.
Yeah, it does. Okay, thank you, Jordan.
Yep.
Oh, Jordan, when we look at the tentative budget in May, or approve it in June, is there an opportunity for the public to comment online, or do they have to come here to comment?
We do not have any forum. In May, we did say if you want to talk,
come on in.
Come bug Jordan, come to the library, come to the city office. I asked somebody in the city manager's office, has anyone come and looked at this printed budget? And they just laughed. So I don't know.
I think that there is an opportunity online with or I guess it's not online, but on your phone, right? Because we can text Podium and ask the questions that you have fairly easily.
Yeah, and my email's online if anyone wants to send me an email.
And I'm sure that no one else that receives those Podium messages wants to talk about the budget except for Jordan.
Maybe once or twice a year I'll get a resident with a Spanish Fork City finance question, but it's pretty rare.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
With the highly attended public meeting we had last time, I was just curious if anyone has any comments.
The city does do a great job with your budget document and the intro pages that are on there showing, the major changes and things that are affecting the budget this year. So just having that in there, I think, is very beneficial to those that read it. It answers a lot of questions just in those
It's very
first few
visually
pages.
appealing.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Very digestible. So
Carson did
good
some
changes.
great work helping us with that.
Good changes. Okay. Is anyone ready to approve the budget?
I move to approve the resolution approving the fiscal year 2026 budget.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Cardin, a second by Councilman Took. This is a roll call vote. Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilman Took?
Yes.
Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Councilman Euler?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Beck? Yes.
Quick question, now that that's been approved, just a scenario, if the budget were not to be approved by a city council, what happens in that case?
Seth will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you approved the tentative budget, which means that would be the budget that we would operate off of until a budget was approved.
So you would continue to make adjustments and whatever needed to until an actual final budget could be approved?
I'm speculating here because this has never happened, but I think it would be a question of why haven't you approved it? I don't know that we would be making any more changes. I think we would be waiting for you to get yourselves in order as to what is it about the budget that you don't like, to then approve whatever that budget is. So the tentative budget would be the fallback until that safety valve until something was approved. It actually functions that way. I think if we do a truth in taxation,
That's what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
If you do decide to raise taxes above the certified tax rate, you have to do truth in taxation, which means you have to notice, and then you have a public hearing in August. So we would not have a formal adopted budget until that point in time, and you would operate using the tentative budget until August, and when you adopt the formal budget. That's my understanding of the legality there.
Great. Thank you.
Vaughn could probably correct me.
That's great. Thank you. Just curious.
Okay, it's time to go adjourn into the redevelopment agency portion. Do we need to have a motion for that, Tara? Okay, can I get a motion?
I move to adjourn to redevelopment agency.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilman Cardin, a second by Councilman Euler. All in favor, say yes.
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 Yes. So we're in redevelopment agency and the RDA consent items.
I move that we approve the RDA minutes.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by Councilman Cardin, a second by Councilman Marshall. All in
Or you
favor?
can yell at us if you want.
What was that?
This is where you can yell at us by our last name if you want.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
we're
thank you.
not council members
Yeah,
anymore.
I told Tyler I was going to save time and just go by last names. Okay. We have a motion by Cardin, a second by Marshall. All in favor, say yes.
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 Okay, thank you. The next up is the public hearing for the fiscal year budget, RDA revision number 2.
All right. I started talking about this and I realized it's a separate legal entity and I'd be talking about it later. So the RDA, if you'll scroll down to the next page, Jack, the North Industrial project area, that is around the airport. There's about $2 million spent on piping a ditch at the airport. As people drive by the airport, they can see there's a lot of work being done. Some of that was done with the city, well, I guess RDA funds. So we had budgeted 1.8 million and ended up coming in closer to 2 million. So you can see $195,000 adjustment to that line item. And then we had some interest earnings on the cash that was sitting there. There's a couple $100,000, I believe, remaining in this fund that we anticipate will be spent in the next year or two. Next one, Jack.
Wait. Walk us all through. Why is there a negative? Why is
a
there
decrease in the fund
there's
balance.
no revenue that comes into this.
Yeah, so there was $2 million, or give or take, $2.2 million in the fund when the fiscal year began. That's how you can spend $2 million and only bring in $35,000.
Gotcha. So if we had this, if this was my bank account, at the top of this would be my balance, and I would have spent, it would be $2 million. I would have spent 1.9, and I'd have a balance at the end. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
And for reference, this RDA is, how do you say it? Is it as blatant as it dead? Like it doesn't have any more revenue coming into it. So it's run its life of 25 years, I think it was. And so we are just spending down the balance of that fund. Eventually, it will go to zero, and we will no longer report on it because it'll be done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Sierra Bonita, this project area is the Young Living expansion area. Young Living expanded, and as part of that agreement, they received some of the increase in the property tax that came with that expansion. We thought that amount would be less than 200,000. You can see we brought in 114,000 came in, then 161. We thought it'd be less than 200,000. There must have been an increase in the value of the property that drove the tax amount up because we received 260,000. This project area simply functions as a pass-through. Whatever we receive, 100% of that gets distributed out. Some of it goes to Nebo School District, and some of it goes to Young Living. So that's the reason for the change there. This one, we had $50 of banking fees that we had not budgeted for, so we had to do that so we don't get written up. And then we did not budget for a couple items here. One of them was the insurance. The funds were there. We just simply forgot to put the number in the cell to make sure it was budgeted and that we were in compliance. So this is us making sure we're in compliance. Yeah, and that's the RDA budget. And this one we will have a public hearing for.
Okay, any questions? Okay, can I get a motion to go into public hearing for the RDA fiscal year budget 2025?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Marshall and a second by Cardin. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Does anyone want to address the? Yes,
Yeah,
come on up.
please.
Just tell us your name, please.
I'm Valerie Mills. Thank you for your service to our city. Question for you, Mr. Hills. Do you have a figure on the outstanding debt, municipal debt, per person in Spanish Fork?
I've never calculated the per person amount. Our financial statements would have more information on the debt, but we can get that for you.
Okay.
It'll take a little bit of work.
There's great stats on Provo's robust growth and their financial stability, low outstanding government debt per capita. Do you know how we compare?
I don't know
You're not
how
sure.
Provo's numbers compare to our
Okay.
numbers now.
Is that looked at, like when we make expenditures or take on debt for the sewer plant or rec center?
Yeah, there's a term in government finance accounting called structurally balanced budget.
Okay.
Which means that ongoing revenue needs to be greater than or equal to ongoing expenses. So whenever you take on more debt, you're increasing ongoing expenses. We always make sure that ongoing revenue can cover that.
Okay, and do the citizens feel that increase?
Oh, it depends on the fund that's issuing the debt, right?
Okay.
So when we built the sewer plant, which cost over $100 million. We had to raise rates to do that. So it depends on which fund is issuing the debt and which project is for.
Okay. What was the prior cost for the sewer fund, and what will it be next year, for example?
I can pull up the budget for you. I don't know if this
Yeah,
is the
I'll
setting
look at
for
it.
that.
I'll look at
but
it. That's
I'd
fine.
be happy to meet with you.
So do you know a percentage? Like, is it getting more expensive for, say, elderly people on a fixed income to live in Spanish Fork?
Sewer rates have had to go up.
Do you feel like other rates have as well, or other expenses?
Some of them have had to.
Okay, I'll come and talk to you. Thank you
Of
so
course.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie. Any other comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to go out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Took, a second by Euler. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the budget?
I move to approve the resolution approving fiscal year 2025 RDA Revision 2 budget.
Second.
I have a motion by Marshall, a second by Cardin, and this is a roll call vote. Cardin?
Yes.
Took?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Beck? Yes. Euler?
Yes.
Okay, approved. The next one is new business, resolution approving the fiscal year 2026 RDA budget.
So public hearing was held for this 2 weeks ago, so no public hearing tonight. No changes have taken place in this budget since it was presented in May.
Thanks, Jordan. Any questions? Hey, if not, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the 2026 RDA budget.
I'll second that. I haven't seconded anything.
This is the RDA budget, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So
2026.
a motion by Cardin, a second by Beck, and this is another roll call vote. So Euler?
Yes.
Cardin?
Yes.
Took?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Beck? Yes. Okay, we'll adjourn into local building authority. Can I get a motion to do so?
I move that we adjourn into local building authority.
Do we need a second?
Second.
Okay. Marshall. Okay, so we have a motion by Cardin, a second by Marshall. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Okay, and now we will move on to 17A, the LBA consent items.
I move that we can approve the LBA consent items.
Second.
I have a motion by Cardin, a second by Marshall. And do we need a roll call on that? No. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And now 18A, resolution approving the fiscal year budget 2026 LBA budget.
just a note on the fiscal year 25 revision, there was no revision done to the LBA, so that's why you only see one item here. The fiscal year 26 budget has not changed since the tentative budget was presented in May, and the public hearing was held 2 weeks ago as well.
Thanks, Jordan. Any questions? Okay, if not, can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the fiscal year 2026 LBA budget.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Euler, a second by Marshall. Roll call vote. Took?
Yes.
Cardin?
Yes.
Euler?
Yes.
Beck? Yes. And Marshall?
Yes.
Okay, approved. Can I get a motion to go out of LBA?
I move that we go out of LBA back into city council.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Cardin, a second by Euler. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And do we have a closed meeting tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I move to adjourn to close meeting for discussion for purchase, exchange, or lease of real property in the Heritage Room.
Okay, I have a motion by
Explorer
Cardin.
Room. Explorer Room. My bad.
Explorer, okay. A motion by Councilman Cardin,
Second.
a second by Councilman Took. All in favor say yes.
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 Thank you.
Everybody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jordan.